Jay here for Stretford Paddock, and it's another breaking news transfer update. Yes, we've already had the news this morning. It was live here in the studio. We've gone live again because there's been developing news with that man, Jadon Sancho, yet again. Now, I'm sure you're all aware, Jadon Sancho, Manchester United. He's at Dortmund. We want him. They're willing to sell him, but for the right price. He's willing to come. We've been negotiating with him over his contract. What's happening? What is the update? Well, it's all been popping off this morning. Lots of tweets, bit of a frenzy. Reports from Germany, reports from some of the usual suspects, tweets from the most reliable Tier 1 journalists out there that it looks like there finally could be some movement with Jadon Sancho coming to Manchester United Football Club. So, the first sort of story where it started to get a little bit of momentum was from Bild over in Germany. They did a story, they did an article about how Manchester United looked like they were ready to buy Jadon Sancho in terms of paying the money, getting it happening, making that deal take place. Now, I've translated this from Google, so sometimes the translations aren't perfect, but it basically says on the Bild article, this is what Man United offers Dortmund for Sancho. And it says the biggest transfer hammer this summer is taking shape. According to Bild information, Manchester United is finally getting serious about Dortmund superstar Jadon Sancho, who has a contract till 2023 and has made a first official offer to Dortmund. So they're saying United now have gone in with a first official offer. And that is what other journalists as well are saying now. Christian Falk, who's obviously the main man in the know over there and works for Bild, he's tweeted about it as well. He tweeted the article and then he quote tweeted Fabrizio Romano, because Fabrizio Romano, who is the main man over there, he tweeted about it and he'd said earlier that Manchester United have reached an agreement with Sancho's camp on personal terms to 2026. Jadon is not created any problem. Negotiations now starting with Dortmund, €95 million price, no agreement yet. Man United now feel Sancho closer, as Jana Fjortov said. So there's a lot of these tweets that are connected, so I'll try and sort of keep this thread going. So Jana Fjortov, who people of my age may remember him as a Swindon Town striker who did okay at Swindon, scored a few goals for them when they had that season in the Premier League many moons ago. But with the Norwegian connection, does seem to be quite close to Ollie and to what's going on. Seems to have his sort of finger on the pulse with a lot of Manchester United news. So he tweeted about 3 hours ago, Sancho, Manchester United and Sancho getting closer. Hashtag development. So he obviously feels that this is happening, it's gathering a bit of momentum, and it's all kicking off. Now, on the Christian Falk front, who's obviously, led to his quote tweeted Romano and said true, and Romano's tweeted about what Fjortov's saying, and you've got Falk who's involved as well. Earlier, Falk tweeted, our story, because obviously he works for Builder, there have been first negotiations between Dortmund and Man United for a transfer of Sancho, but the first intended sum of money from United is too low. He's put in brackets, again, like 2020, because we know last summer United wanted Sancho. We went in with an offer. It wasn't big enough. Dortmund wanted around €120 million. We didn't pay it. We thought we could maybe get them to come down on that price. They didn't. They gave us a deadline. That deadline came and went. They didn't budge on what they wanted. And once that deadline passed, they were like, we're not having it anymore. The negotiations are over, or no, this is it. He's our player this season. Now it's different in the sense that there's a year further into his contract. So they can't play hardball as much as they want. Plus the pandemic's hurt everyone financially, including Dortmund. And there is a feeling that Manchester United can get this deal done. But it's not going to be for pennies. Manchester United can't take the same approach they did last summer and think it's going to have different results. Yes, we probably won't have to pay £120 million or €120 million for Jadon Sancho this summer. We could probably get him a bit less, but we're not going to get him for a lot less than the Dortmund are expecting. Now, there's been reports and stories going around that Manchester United are going to come in with an offer of around £70 million. That could be a good opening offer, but Dortmund, as I've said there earlier from Rano, they want around £90 million for him. So there might be a sort of way of negotiating and getting a middle ground where perhaps United pay 70 million with another 10, 15 million on add-ons and Dortmund go for that? We'll have to wait and see. But one thing United should have learned, I'm not saying we will have done, but we should have learned last summer, is you cannot lowball Dortmund. You cannot sort of try and play chicken with them and expect them to blink. It ain't going to happen. So you do have to go into these negotiations knowing that Dortmund, no matter what, yes, they're a selling club. Yes, they're a club where you can buy the players. Yes, Sancho wants to leave. Yes, they could do with the money, but they're also a club that's got a lot of pride, and they're also a well-run club. They're not completely in financial dire straits where if they don't sell Jadon Sancho, everything's going to fall apart. They're not a club that has no ambition at all whatsoever. They've just won the German Cup. They finished third. They didn't have the best season, but they did finish third. They're in the Champions League, and they're also seeing Bayern Munich constantly winning anything. Bayern Munich often look down the noses a little bit at Dortmund, and I think that's the thing that gets to Dortmund. So don't be surprised if Dortmund do sort of play hardball here. And Manchester United may have to make a decision of how much we want Jadon Sancho. Do we want Jadon Sancho to the point where if push came to shove, we'd be willing to pay the full amount that Dortmund want? Or is there a limit that is less than Dortmund want, but it's more than we were offering last summer, or it's more than we're offering initially? Because as Christian Falk says there, the initial offer is too low. It's too low. Like last summer, we've gone in with an offer and it's too low, so we need to increase our offer. Now, other journalists have been picking up on this as well. This story, like I say, it is developing. There might be more to come. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear more as the day progresses and as the weeks progress. This could rumble on for a little while. I'm hoping it's going to be a quick transfer, but quick transfers and Manchester United just never seems to happen. When's the last time we did a quick transfer? Maybe Donny van der Beek was a quick one, but that was mainly because I think Edwin van der Sar got on the phone to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and just said, listen, if you want him, 35 million quid plus 5 million on add-ons, do you want to do it or not? And Ole went, yeah, all right, let's do it. This is a lot different. Obviously, a lot more money involved, a much higher profile player, and a player that has been a long-term target of Manchester United, and a player that Dortmund will want to get the most for, because this is a player that has had 3 successful seasons now at Dortmund. Didn't have the greatest start beginning of last season, but picked up his performances towards the end of the season, and his numbers at the end of the season were as good as anyone's on the planet. I think it was around, 15 goals, 10 assists or something? Like I said earlier, helped them win the German Cup. A rare trophy win for Dortmund, if you actually look. They don't win trophies that often. Got into the Champions League, where at one point it looked like that was beyond him. So he's had a good season. He's had a good spell at Dortmund. He's only 21. He's got another couple of years left on his contract. So it now would seem like the right time to sell him, because if they leave it another year, obviously, he's getting towards the end of his contract. But like I said earlier, they're not a club that is forced to do anything. They're a proud club. So we will have to pay big money for him, because he's worth big money. If you look at what Jadon Sancho brings to a team, what he's done in terms of numbers and in terms of performances, his age, the fact that if you did get him, according to Romano, we've offered him a deal, we've agreed a deal to 2026. If he was to see that out, you're going to get 5 years out of him. So it would make sense to pay around 80 million quid for a player of that ilk. Sam Pilger, who's been on the channel a few times, he says United and Jadon Sancho in agreement, but a fee with Dortmund still to be worked out. This deal is getting close. So he's another journalist that we listen to, and he's saying the same thing as the likes of Romano, Falk, Janaga Fjortov. They're all saying similar things. They're saying that basically this deal is getting closer. It's not done, but terms, as Romano has said, terms have been agreed with Jadon Sancho to 2026, a 5-year deal. We had this story, I think it was Saturday night it first broke. Romano tweeted it on the 5th of June, saying that United had restarted contacts to sign Jadon Sancho, talks with the players' camp on personal terms, potential contracts until 2026. So he said that on Saturday night. We went live with it from my kitchen, if you remember, if any of you caught that. Now there's been another development where he's saying terms are agreed. Sancho, Manchester United, happy with each other. 5-year deal, contract's done. All I say all in inverted commas, that needs to be agreed is the fee. Now, it's a massive amount of money, regardless of whether you think he's worth it or not, or whether you think it's actually a bit of a bargain. Some people may think that. They may think he's one of those players that is worth, world record transfer fees or whatever. I think you can admit it's a massive fee no matter what. It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of negotiations. And also, this is a Manchester United club that likes to try and save money, that likes to drag out these negotiations. If you look at all our negotiations, barring the Donny van der Beek one, they've dragged on. Alex Telles dragged on. That was a player that was, 12 million euros or 12 million quid? In the modern game, that's pennies, especially to a club like Manchester United. You'd think that would be a deal you can get done like that. No dramas. Yes, not a lot of money. He's coming towards the end of his contract. They're willing to sell him for the right money. That's the right money. Let's get it done. But it went on and on and on. This low ball in these negotiations, are they going to sell him and all this other sort of stuff. It was a bit of an embarrassment, really. Even Edinson Cavani, who was a free agent, we couldn't even get that deal done in time for him to play against Newcastle because he had to quarantine. So we actually ended up getting him and him not being able to play as many games as he wanted because we dragged our heels so long with it. We just seem to have this issue at Manchester United of not being able to get deals done very quickly. You look at the Aaron Wan-Bissaka one as a perfect example. We wanted Aaron Wan-Bissaka from the get-go. He was our main right-back target. Crystal Palace were willing to sell him. They were willing to sell him for 50 million quid. What happens we go into these negotiations, you hear rumours and stories around we're offering them these incentives, we'll give you 30 million plus 20 million if he wins the Champions League, and Palace are like, you're not even in the Champions League, what are you talking about? Not a chance. And then it goes on and on and on. In the end, we end up paying, 50 million quid? We end up paying what they want. Harry Maguire, similar thing. Negotiations go on for a few weeks. We want him. He's willing to come. Leicester are willing to sell him for the right price. We try and negotiate the deal down. Doesn't happen. Now listen, don't mind Manchester United trying to get the best deal. I get it. I hate the Glazers. I hate what they're doing to our club. But I understand as a club, you have to try and get a good deal. You have to try and get prices down to as low as possible whilst still making the deal happen. But United, we just seem to have this thing where we drag things on and on and on. We just don't seem to be able to do quick transfers. The Van der Beek one was a one-off. Every other transfer we've done of late, it just feels like it goes on. People go, look at the Dan James one. Dan James one, yeah, but that, again, not only was he relative pennies in the modern era, especially for Manchester United, but this is also a player that was going to go for Leeds for £4.5 million about 6 months before we bought him for 15 million. So when you look at it that way, we've spent a lot of money on Dan James. I know he's a bit of a snip, but still. I'm going to have a look at the comments. Get involved in the comments. Hit that like. Give us a like. Let us know what you think about this. Do you finally feel, right? You've all been with us, most of you have been with us from the day one. When we started talking about the Jadon Sancho story, the Jadon Sancho to Manchester United story, because it was the beginning of last summer, wasn't it? It's pretty much when we went from full-time Devils and we took over the channel and became Stretford Paddock, that Jadon Sancho became the big story for everyone, and it looked like that deal was going to happen. And myself, Ronaldo Brown, Joe Smith, McCullough, Howson, everyone, Alex Baggers, we're all outside Old Trafford, we're all doing updates, we're all giving you the latest news on Jadon Sancho, and it was all the same, wasn't it? It was all, United want him. He wants to come. Terms aren't an issue. It's just the fee. And it looks like at one point it was going to happen. Everyone was thinking, you know what, this is it. We're just waiting for Romano for the here we go. We had Romano on here. We had Christian Falk on the channel. We had all the leading journalists on the Tier 1 podcast. And at first, I got the feeling that, yes, it could happen. And then they started saying the same thing. We started speaking to journalists over in Germany, the likes of Florian Plettenberg, the likes of Patrick Berger, and the likes of Christian Falk, who spoke to us from Bayern Munich's training ground. And they were saying, listen, that deadline meant something to Dortmund. Once that deadline's gone, the deal's done. It's not happening. And we're like, really? United can still get this done, throw a load of money at it, it will happen. Didn't happen. Dortmund weren't having any of it. Have United learned a lesson? Is this going to be different? Do you believe you'll see Jadon Sancho in a Manchester United shirt next season? When the fans are allowed back in, is he going to be there, lined up against Edinson Cavani? I know we've had fans in for the full game, but I mean the full fans. Is he going to be there, lined up against alongside the likes of Edinson Cavani, Marcus Rashford, Mason Greenwood? Are we going to see Jadon Sancho in a Manchester United shirt? Or do you just feel this is never, ever going to end? And we're just going to be negotiating with Dortmund for the rest of our lives? People say Jason, question mark. I've said Jadon. The Jason Sanchez thing, I've always addressed this. I think we've killed it. I think it's time for move on now. You may disagree. Disciple of Ollie says, sell James to Leeds. Dennis Teo says, Sancho plus 60 million for Lingardino. He had a great spell, didn't he, at West Ham. Probably a little bit unlucky not to make the Euros. Special KZA. Sancho deal is depressing now. These journalists must relax until we move beyond its close. Cameron S. According to Bill, the offer was 20 million euros too low. What WTF is wrong with this club? So United going in and lowballing a little bit. And lowballing might be a bit harsh, but going in with a lower offer because they're saying, yeah, Dortmund would want around 95 million euros. We're offering around 70 odd million. Is that going to work? Is that going to happen? Have we learned our lessons from last season? We did all this last season where we were saying we're not going to pay 120 million. We'll give you a lot less. I don't actually think last season it got to the point of official bids. I might be wrong, but it all molds into one of these Jadon Sancho stories because we did so fucking many of them. But I don't recall ever actually saying United have made a bid. I don't think we did. I think there was negotiations. I think there was interest. I think there was sort of the players' agents and people were talking to each other and representing the club were talking to the player. The player had agreed. I don't know if Manchester United went in. I think they sounded out a move and I think they were willing to offer a certain amount of money that Dortmund weren't into. But I don't know if there was an official bid. Now, you may look at it and go, Jay, what are you on about? I remember you saying this in a video. I can't remember it. Let us know what you think in the comments. Do you know or do you believe he's going to be at Manchester United this season? Do you think Manchester United should pay the 100 million euros or the 95 million euros, sorry, that I think it's going to be? Do you think that's going to happen? Here we go. Cameron, no, it's not here we go. Cameron S says, Bild reported Dortmund won 90 million and United offered 69. So there's a 21 million euro shortfall there. Dortmund won 90 million. United saying 69. Is that fair? Or do you think we need to up it? Do you think we should up it? Or do you think they should lower it? Do you think there's a middle ground that would be fair? How much do you think Jadon Sancho is worth? Do the Euros play a part in this? Me and Joe McGrath were on the late night show last night, and Joe McGrath was saying, oh, well, you know, you look at it, if he goes to the Euros, well, he goes to the Euros. If he has a great Euros, that could increase his value. That could make it, you know, so you've got to pay a lot more for him. If he's smashing in the goals against, you know, the international teams and helps England do well in the Euros, then Dortmund could say, right, we want an extra 10 million or whatever. Do you think that's happening? Because I was a bit sceptical. I didn't think it mattered that much whether he has a good Euros or not. I still think the price is going to be similar to the same almost what it is now. Let us know in the comments what you think. Do you think that this could be one of those where Manchester United now is the time to strike? Because if we leave it a little bit longer, if we wait till after the Euros, his price or his value could go up. 69 million pounds, Matt GB says. I think I might have said euros. I think people question whether it's euros or pounds. I think the figure there is 69 million pounds. The Bilgy 7 says 10 million plus Fred. Taking the mick there, aren't you? Hey, come on. Someone else says, sorry if I can just get out. Moren says it's a good starting point, to be honest. Yeah, it kind of makes sense to go in with that offer, not to stick with it. I think if we stick with it and miss out on this deal, there's going to be hell to pay, and it's just going to make Manchester United look like an even bigger laughing stock in the transfer market than we have done already with the Glazers. But as an opening offer, I kind of get it. I think we'd be mad to come in and go, what, you want 95 million? Right, we'll give you 92. That's just not going to happen. But to go in there and say, okay, we'll give you 69, Dortmund say, no, we're not going to take less than 90. All right, what about 75? 80. There could be a middle ground there. Charles Hobbs says, haven't Dortmund told Sancho that if the clause is met, he can go? I think there's an agreement with Sancho and Dortmund. That's a good question. I think there is an agreement that if United match what Dortmund want, he can go. I think Dortmund have said to Jadon Sancho, you can go. There was talk last season, wasn't there? At the beginning of last season, he didn't have the greatest starts last season. There was some rumours and reports that maybe he was a little bit annoyed. His head had been turned by the fact that this move looked like it was destined to happen. He thought he was going to be heading back to Manchester. He's obviously been at Manchester City. Thought he was going to be able to come to the big club in Manchester. Didn't happen. That may have sort of upset him a little bit, knocked him off his game a little bit. He didn't have the great start, but he more than made up for it towards the end of the season, helping them get some silverware, helping them get into the top three, just having an all-round good end of the season as well, putting up the numbers massively towards the end of the season. You know, you might look at it and go, Dortmund have seen that, thought we don't want the same scenario again. They've had a word with him. They said, listen, we're happy to let you go, but you've got to, you know, the price has got to be met. We're not going to let you go just for 30, 40 million less than what we want. Here's the price we want, or if they match that price, then by all means you can move on. Because, you know, I'm just looking at his numbers now towards the end of the season. He had a bit of a flyer. He got 2 goals, I think, in the German Cup. He got a couple of goals against Leipzig again in the league as well. He got a couple of assists towards the end of the season, and then there was a 3-game spell where he scored a goal in consecutive games. So he certainly picked it up a lot towards the end of the season, Jadon Sancho. He really did. There's no doubt in the kid's talent. The question is, are we going to pay for it? Are we going to pay the money that's going to bring him here? I think you buy Jadon Sancho, it opens up so many opportunities for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You can move Mason Greenwood into the middle. You can have that option of playing either Edinson Cavani, Mason Greenwood, or Andy Martial down the middle. Maybe even because you've got an out-and-out right winger, you can stop playing Marcus over there. He can focus on the left-hand side. You might even want to play Martial on the left-hand side sometimes and give Marcus Rashford a rest. If he's having an operation, as has been reported at the end of the Euros, he could be unavailable for beginning the season. Maybe you have, at the start of the season, Martial on the left, Edinson Cavani or Mason Greenwood in the middle, and Jadon Sancho on the right-hand side. It looks like it makes a lot of sense, this move, and allows so many different options attacking-wise for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You're not just having to rely on an injured Marcus Rashford to play on the right wing, or a youngster like Mason Greenwood, who isn't a right winger, just can cut in from on the left with his left foot to play there. You can have an actual right winger. We've not had a right winger at this club since, when's the last time we had one? Was it Beckham? No, it's Valencia, wasn't it, probably. Sean Patrick Madej says, Jay, are you getting overtime this week? Yeah, a lot of videos, a lot going on. We like to keep you updated, though, because, like I say, when all the tweets start flying in, when it looks like there's some developing news, then we want to go live. We want to keep you updated. We want to let you know what the script is. You can see there, you've had reliable journalists, the likes of Christian Falk, the likes of Fabrizio Romano, two of the most reliable ones, the tier one journalists out there. Christian Falk, very close to what's going on in Germany. Obviously, head of sport over in Germany for Bild, a very reputable publication there. He's saying that Jan Fjortoft, who's been very close to Manchester United news over the last couple of years or so, we might have to get him on the channel, actually. I think we're going to reach out to Jan Fjortoft. We'll get him on the channel. We've already had a lot of these journalists on. We've had Romano on, we've had Falk on last season. We're going to get him on again. We're going to have Fabrizio Romano on again very soon. Make sure you watch that. I'm going to have him on the Tier 1 Transfer podcast so he can give us the latest news there. By the time he's on, we might even sign Jadon Sancho. It would be good as well for us to get this deal early so we can start looking at other signings, because I don't think Jadon Sancho can be our only signing this summer. We need more than just Jadon Sancho and Tom Heaton. I know we've already sort of got that deal done. So the more this drags on, the longer this drags on, the less likely we are to bring in the amount of signings or the other signings we need, because deals can take weeks to negotiate. I'm not sure, but I think things have slightly changed Manchester United. We used to only negotiate one deal at a time, didn't we? I don't know if that is still the case. I know it's now sort of slightly different. I think, is it Matt Judge has taken a step back? John Murtaugh's come in, of course, as the director of football. So it might be a little bit different than it was, but we used to do one deal at a time, which was incredibly frustrating from a Manchester United point of view, because you'd have sort of, you'd have to wait until Dan James was done before you could start on the Aaron Wan-Bissaka negotiations. The wait till they was done before you could start on the Harry Maguire negotiations. It just seemed like a very long-winded, drawn-out process for a club like Manchester United, and why we couldn't have a few irons in the fire at the same time. Yes, you have to finalise them. You might need one person to sign off on it. But why we couldn't go into these negotiations and try and get some deals done at the same time, it just seems a bit silly, because you look at other clubs and they seem to just be rattle off transfers. You look at Chelsea last summer, they went ballistic, didn't they? And they ended up winning the Champions League. You look at Manchester City, they always get the business done quickly. When they want a player, they tend to get them done without any minimum of fuss. I know those two clubs have owners that put money into the club rather than take it out, but even so, it's not that we haven't made transfers in the past. We've made them, but we just dragged our heels with them. Although we don't think we made enough transfers last summer, not to the calibre that we needed to mount a title challenge. Lots of people in the comments, lots of people in the chat. Let's have a look what everyone's saying. Geordie Lyons says, see you all again in 2027. I know it does feel like this is just going to go on for another 6 years, doesn't it? Top Dog says, Chelsea will end up nicking him if we take too long. Not been many rumours that Sancho in for him, although I think there was an article in somewhere like the Daily Mail today saying that Chelsea could be ready to swoop in there. That'd be a massive, massive kick in the face for Manchester United, and I think there would be some serious questions for answer for the Glazers if they allow that to happen. This isn't going to solve the problem for the Glazers, by the way. Buying Jadon Sancho doesn't make all the issues go away, and it doesn't bring all the fans back on board. But let's be realistic. If you have a big transfer window, then it may calm down some of the fans, and it may placate some of the fans. Not all of us, but some of them may be, all right, let's, maybe we're not going to protest as much as we had. It's not just about transfers, though. You've got to sort out Trafford. It's falling apart. You've got to sort out things like getting a swimming pool fixed in the training ground, making the women's team not have to get a minibus, whatever it was, to a porta cabin to go to the toilet. If you want to start pretending to be an elite club, then you need to start acting like it, because we haven't been, and it's not just about transfers. Bit of transparency wouldn't hurt, and facing up to fans wouldn't hurt. Joel Glazer, for the first time in 16 years, met with the fans forum last week. Lots of, wait and sees happening with that one. He made a lot of promises. We're going to be getting updates on that as and when they happen as well, because I know some of the lads are involved in that conversation. But we need to see more than just Jadon Sancho transfers to keep everyone happy. Cameron S says Chelsea don't need Sancho. Kaletso Mahu Pela, forgive me if I've just absolutely butchered your name, bro, says we need to wrap up Sancho quickly so we can get Neves and Kieran. I think he means Kieran Trippier there. Been heavily linked with Kieran Trippier as a different option at right back. Mark John Huss says, notice how Falk says first amount too low. Doesn't say bid. That suggests to me that the overall amount is agreed. It's just how much we pay up front and how much his instalments needs sorting. So he's saying, actually, maybe it's not the actual transfer. Maybe that's okay. Maybe they've said, right, we want 90 million, and United are like, right, we can do that, but we're going to give you 60 million up front and another 30 million over the next 4 years, whatever. And Dortmund are like, nah, come on, don't be on them ones. We want the money, cash money up front now. We'll have to wait and see. Dortmund, though, very shrewd and swift movers in the transfer market. So they'll want to get this deal done so they can use some of the money to go and invest elsewhere, because they're very good at doing that, aren't they, Dortmund? They sell players, they bring players in. They've also got an absolute gem, haven't they, in Jude Bellingham. Another player that United are in for. I thought we were going to get him at one point last summer. They signed him from Birmingham City. Was he 16, 17 when they got him? And he just looks class, doesn't he? Saw him against Manchester City. I've seen him a few times in the Bundesliga. He just looks like the real deal. And there's a case to be made that he should start for England. I'd rather see him in the team than the likes of Jordan Henderson, to be perfectly honest with you, but I know we're not here to talk about England. Sean Patrick McDay says, are you on with Adam again tonight, Jay? You're going to go and have to go for a nap? I'm on late tonight. So yeah, it's a full day here. Paddock Towers, don't you worry about that. Charles Hobbs says, United need a set-piece coach to get the best out of Maguire and shore up the rear guard. We should be making more of our set pieces. Harry Maguire gets his head to so many corners, and he's got, one goal, I think, this season or last season. It's just, it is a bit frustrating, the fact that we can't seem to get more goals from set pieces, and also we're so vulnerable at set pieces. So you do make a good point there, my friend. I'm just going to recap quickly. So Fabrizio Romano, Mr. Here We Go himself. We've not got a Here We Go yet before anyone gets too excited. But he tweeted, Manchester United reached an agreement with Sancho's camp on personal terms until 2026. Jadon is not creating any problem. #MUFC. Negotiations now starting with Borussia Dortmund. €95 million price. No, in capital letters, agreement yet. Man United now feel Sancho closer, as Janaga Fjortov said. Janaga Fjortov said it. Okay, let's see what he actually said. So, Janaga Fjortov, the former Swindon Town striker, Norwegian international, friends of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, probably, I don't know, says, Sancho, Manchester United and Sancho getting closer. #development. Okay, things looking like they're moving forward here. We've got people that are pretty ITK saying that it's moving on. Christian Falk, quote tweeted Fabrizio Romano's tweet, and he's put, true, tick. Christian Falk works for Builder. He's Build. He's the head of football for Build. Very reputable when it comes to his German football. He's like your Romano in the Bundesliga, yeah? We spoke to him on the Tail and Transfer podcast. He was literally at the Bayern Munich training ground. He's like holding his phone like, I'm just here at the Bayern Munich training ground. And it was like, what's happening with Thiago Alcantara? He's like, I'll have a look, see if he's there. Oh, look, there he is. He's over there training, yeah. It was crackers, but it was great stuff. He's quote tweeted that says true. He's also quote tweeted another tweet that says news from Sancho, concrete negotiations between Dortmund and United have started, but Man United still doesn't offer enough. And then he's also said himself, our story, meaning Bill's story, there have been first negotiations between Dortmund and United for a transfer of Sancho, but the first intended sum of money from United is too low. Again, like 2020. Someone just said that in the comments. That's quite an interesting way of phrasing it. The first intended sum of money from United is too low. Again, like 2020. Does that indicate that it's not actually the overall transfer fee, but the instalment, the first intended sum of money? Now, that might just be the way he's worded it. It might be, English is his second language. That might be just the way he phrases it. Or has the full amount been agreed, and now it's just a case of how we pay that. Have we said to Dortmund, we'll give you 90 million quid, but we want to give you 60 up front, 10 later, and 10 when he hits 20 goals for us, 10 when he plays, 100 games for us, 10 after his 3 years, first 3 years are done. I don't know how these things work. Sometimes it's like Ballon d'Or wins and stuff like that. Do you remember the Andy Martial one, I think it was? Where if he wins a Ballon d'Or, we have to pay 50 million quid. Amad Diallo had a lot of add-ons, 18 million rising up to 37. But again, if this happens, if he reaches this mark, if he gets so many appearances or whatever, clubs tend to put these clauses in. So when you buy a player, you're going to get at least something. There's a motivational reason there for it. It's like, if you buy a player and you say, okay, once he's made so many appearances, we'll give you more money, then it's it's almost like a safety net in it. It's like, okay, hedging your bets a little bit. If we buy him and he's terrible, he gets injured, then at least we're saving a bit of money because we don't have to pay as much because of this clause. If we buy him and he plays 100 games for us, or he plays 200 games, or he wins the Ballon d'Or, he's obviously had an amazing time for us and been fantastic. So that means he's worth it. That was the case with Andy Martial with those add-ons. It was 30-odd million, I think, initially, going up to 50 million. Now, people may laugh and go, Andy Martial win the Ballon d'Or, he scored 4 Premier League goals this season. What are you on about, mate? When we bought him from Monaco, he was one of the most highly thought after or highly sought youngsters on the planet. I think, was he a golden ball winner or whatever they call him? Golden boy winner, sorry. He was one of the sort of most talked about teenagers on the planet. So it makes sense why you do things like that. It's the same with Amad Diallo. We spoke to Romano about Amad Diallo not that long ago, and he said Manchester United were very shrewd to get in Amad Diallo when we did, because he expected someone like Juve to come in for him, so he understood why United swooped in quickly. And he said that the Atalanta players that he spoke to, because he's based in Italy, were raving about him. And again, though, it's one of those deals, 18 million or whatever up front, rising up to 37, if he does the business. So if he doesn't, you're not that bothered. Goth Mike says, Jay Motti is the best. I'd rather have you on the wing, my mate. Listen, bro, maybe back in never was I good enough to play professional football, but, I could at least run quite quickly when I was a youngster. Not anymore. I'm past 40. I'm one of them. I'll just sit there and sort of, at the back, giving motivational shouts. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. That's how I roll at five-a-side. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for everyone who's got involved in the comments. Thanks for everyone who's got involved in the chat, and give us a like. Hit that like button. Give us a share as well. If you're not subscribing, make sure you subscribe. Hit the notifications bell as well on your screen. Make sure you're getting yourself notifications when we go live. As we've done twice already today, we're going to keep going live when there is any developing story, any developing news. When it comes to Jadon Sancho or anyone else, we've got you covered. So make sure you are getting your notifications. Make sure you're subscribing, because this ain't going to happen, this won't happen where you don't hear from us immediately. As soon as anything develops, we will go live. That's how we roll. So this has been Stretford Paddock breaking news transfer update. We're almost, it feels like, here we go, tackle. Almost, but not quite. Myself, and Adam McCullough will be back tonight, because I never sleep, I just do videos, with the transfers live. So make sure you are checking that out. We'll be going live at 9:30. Unless, of course, we signed Jadon Sancho earlier, in which case we'll be going live when it happens. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.